Prices of staples continuing to surge.
The tariffs, they're all set.
President Trump's looming tariffs with our allies. What impact will it have on the economy? Also, on the eve of his address to Congress, the president slamming President Zelensky. And with mid-air scares on the rise, we're joined live by Transportation Committee Chair, Republican Senator Ted Cruz, to cover it all. Plus,
can NASA pull it off?
I think NASA's track record of making the seemingly impossible happen is proof.
Mission to Mars, Trump's ambitious goal to get humans on the red planet. But is it even possible? And what dangers would astronauts face if we embark on this unprecedented mission? And history at the Oscars, the moments that stole the show.
From ABC News World Headquarters in New York, this is Prime with Linsey Davis.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Juju Chang in for Linsey Davis. Thanks so much for streaming with us. We begin with President Trump's tariffs and the trade war looming with our North American neighbors. Americans now bracing for more painful price hikes on everything from gas to avocados to cell phones. Plus, new concerns about the safety of the skies with yet another air scare, again on the approach to Reagan National Airport. Multiple pilots receiving mid-air collision warnings in the cockpit over the weekend, but no other planes were nearby. Transportation Committee Chair and Republican Senator Ted Cruz will join us in the wake of these close calls and amid questions about sufficient staffing of our air traffic controllers. All this as President Trump's tariff plans set the stock market plunging. Trump implementing a 25% tariff on imports from Canada and Mexico and 20% on Chinese goods. By some estimates, the average household cost could increase by $2,000 a year as a result. We have Senator Cruz standing by and Gio Benitez covering those close calls in the sky in just a moment. But first, here's ABC News Chief White House Correspondent Mary Bruce.
Tonight, the Dow tumbling 600 points on President Trump's announcement that he's moving forward with sweeping new tariffs against Canada and Mexico at the stroke of midnight. Trump saying there's nothing they can do to change his mind.
No room left for Mexico or for Canada. No, the tariffs, they're all set.
Trump adding a 25% tax on all goods coming across the border from Mexico and Canada, and an additional 10% on Chinese products. Economists point out the cost will be paid by American businesses, who will pass it on to consumers by raising prices. By one estimate, the average household will spend up to $2,000 more a year on everything from produce to clothes to electronics. The cost of a new car could spike $3,000. The CEO of Ford warning long-term a 25% tariff across the Mexico and Canada borders would blow a hole in the U.S. industry that we've never seen. Trump undeterred.
So what they have to do is build their car plants, frankly, and other things in the United States.
But legendary investor Warren Buffett calling tariffs essentially an act of war.
I mean, tariffs are actually, we've had a lot of experience with them. They're an act of war to some degree.
And tonight, Mexico and Canada already vowing to retaliate by slapping taxes on American goods.
We will have a strong, unequivocal, and proportional response as Canadians expect.
Already the anger is palpable. Canadians booing the Star-Spangled Banner when the LA Galaxy soccer team played the Vancouver Whitecaps overnight. And when Trump first threatened tariffs, Canadian liquor stores took American whiskey off the shelves. Trump insists his tariffs are meant to pressure Mexico and Canada to stop the flow of deadly drugs and migrants coming into the country. But less than 1% of the fentanyl seized coming into the U.S. last year came across the Canadian border. Over the last month, both countries trying to negotiate. Canada appointing a fentanyl czar, Mexico surging 10,000 troops to the border and sending back criminals wanted in the U.S. But Trump tonight says it isn't enough and seemed to expand his reasons for imposing these tariffs in the first place.
They can't come in and steal our money and steal our jobs and take our factories and take our businesses and expect not to be punished. And they're being punished by tariffs.
And Mary Bruce joins us now. Mary, I'm imagining we can expect to hear more about tariffs tomorrow night during President Trump's address to Congress?
Yeah, Juju, you can be sure we will certainly be hearing more about these tariffs tomorrow night when the president delivers his first address before a joint session of Congress since returning here to the White House. But there are very real concerns that these tariffs could drive up prices just as inflation is also rising, something the president, of course, promised to address on day one. All eyes now tomorrow night will be on how he tackles these economic issues. Juju.
Mary Bruce, thank you as always.
Thank you.
And of course, you should be sure to tune in tomorrow at 9 p.m. Eastern Time to watch our live coverage of President Trump's joint address to the nation and the Democratic response. Now, tonight, multiple pilots have warned that they have been getting false alarms known as mid-air collision alerts designed to prevent disasters. ABC's Gio Benitez covers aviation, and he has the latest.
Just weeks after that deadly mid-air crash over the Potomac River, moments after a Black Hawk helicopter was warned it was too close to a passenger jet, now comes word that multiple pilots received collision alerts on final approach to Reagan National Airport. But this time, it would appear those warnings are false alarms, and authorities are asking, what's going on?
We got a couple of traffic advisories, the cautions. We didn't see anybody either.
A source with direct knowledge telling ABC News 6 planes received those mid-air collision warnings in the cockpit Saturday, 3 forced to perform go-arounds. Those traffic collision avoidance systems, known as TCAS, alert pilots if another aircraft is nearby or on a collision course with their plane. But no other planes were close.
There's no known traffic between you and the field. We've had multiple arrivals today report TAs and RAs for unknown targets. Use caution.
Experts say it's critical these systems work properly to avoid false alarms.
It's a potential major distraction of a flight crew at a very critical time of flight, which is landing. So if these are not real warnings, and they haven't been, they're distracting and they're dangerous.
And Juju, it is critical that pilots aren't distracted, that they're focused on that runway, so the FAA will investigate. Juju?
The co-founder of World Wrestling Entertainment, Linda McMahon, was confirmed as the U.S. Secretary of Education today by a party line vote of 51 to 45. President Trump has asked and tasked McMahon with shutting down the department, and he's expected to sign an executive order as soon as this week, diminishing it. Trump campaigned on the promise to return education to the states, an action that would require congressional approval. Of course, the Department of Education oversees student loans, federal funds for lower-income students, and special education programs, among many other vital services. And joining us now is the chair of the Transportation and Commerce Committee, Senator Ted Cruz. Senator, thanks so much for joining us.
Great to be with you.
We have a lot to dive into, so let's get right at it. First, tariffs with our two allies, Mexico and Canada, are set to take effect. You saw the impact on the stock market. Are you worried at a time when the price of basic goods like eggs continue to skyrocket that this may mean higher prices for Americans?
Well, listen, President Trump uses tariffs and the threats of tariffs for multiple different purposes. And one of the purposes that he uses them for is as leverage to incentivize other countries to do things that are in America's interest. What he has laid out with respect to Mexico and Canada is these tariffs as leverage to cause them to do even more to help secure our border and to stop the illegal immigration that we've seen and the fentanyl that has been flooding into this country. I got to say, in that regard, I enthusiastically support what the president is doing. We have had for 4 years a national security and a public safety crisis at our border, 12 million illegal immigrants, and I support using every tool the president has to secure the border, to keep our families safe, and to stop the over 100,000 Americans that are dying each year from drug overdoses. It's truly a crisis.
And yet industry leaders, Senator, we just heard from the automobile industry's leaders, Ford CEO, saying that long-term, a 25% tariffs across the Mexico and Canada borders would blow a hole in the U.S. industry that we've never seen. He said he's not the only one, of course, concerned. Does the president need to walk some of these tariff threats back?
Well, listen, my hope is that these tariffs and tariff threats are leverage that will incentivize Mexico and Canada to do much more to secure our border. That would be a good outcome for Texas and America. Texas does a massive amount of trade with Mexico and a massive amount of trade with Canada. And so I don't want to see tariffs go into effect, particularly not for an extended period of time against Mexico and Canada, because that would have harmful impacts on the Texas economy. So my hope is this will prove to be what it proved to be during Trump's first term. During Trump's first term, he threatened 25% tariffs against Mexico unless Mexico helped us secure the border. that produced the Remain in Mexico agreement that resulted in the lowest rate of illegal immigration in 45 years. So my hope is these tariffs against Mexico and Canada are leverage to secure our border and not an ongoing economic policy.
Let's broaden the lens a little bit. In a recent episode of your podcast, The Verdict, with Ted Cruz, you said, my view is America first, which means I want our allies to be strong and I want our enemies to be weak. And yet some foreign policy observers expressed disappointment that so few Republicans have criticized what happened in the Oval Office on Friday with regard to President President Zelensky.
Well, listen, I've done 2 entire podcasts on Verdict devoted to what happened with President Zelensky in the Oval Office. And I have to say, I think President Zelensky behaved abominably. This will go down in history as the most disastrous Oval Office meeting that has ever happened. And President Zelensky came in and decided apparently it was a good strategy to attack President Trump. To pick a fight with President Trump. And I think that was a serious mistake. I think it was a catastrophic mistake. And I think it did real damage to Ukraine by doing that. In my view, we had an election in November. It was very clear that President Trump was campaigning on ending the war in Ukraine. I believe the war in Ukraine was caused by Joe Biden's weakness and his appeasement. But I think the war has gone on long enough, and President Trump was very clear this war should come to an end. I'll tell you, Juju, what I have urged President Trump is that the war in Ukraine should come to an end, but it should come to an end in a way that is a clear and unequivocal loss for Russia and loss for Putin. Russia is not our friend. Putin is not our friend. And I believe it's important that the end of this war be a clear loss for Russia.
And that's a clear declaration. Let me turn the chapter a little bit. First Lady Melania Trump was on Capitol Hill today for her first solo appearance. She was there in support of the bipartisan Take It Down Act. You are one of the bill's sponsors. The bill protects victims of non-consensual sharing of sexual images, including those created by AI or deep fake. Do you anticipate this bill getting through?
I do. This is legislation that I authored. I teamed up with Amy Klobuchar, Democrat from Minnesota. It's bipartisan legislation, and it's designed to protect women, to protect young girls who more and more are becoming victims of non-consensual intimate images, both real images, and also we're seeing the growing proliferation of deep fakes, of using AI and technology that is targeting women and young girls and sometimes young boys as well. And so my legislation, the Take It Down Act, makes it a crime to distribute non-consensual intimate images, whether real or created through deep fake AI. And it also puts a legal obligation on tech platforms to take down that content once they're notified by the victim. My legislation has already passed the Senate unanimously, 100-0. So all the Republicans came together, all the Democrats came together. And today, as you noted, the First Lady, Melania Trump, came to the Capitol urging Congress to pass my legislation. We had at the roundtable that I hosted the Speaker of the House Majority Leader. They committed the House is going to take it up. I believe we're going to pass it, and we'll put it on President Trump's desk and get it signed into law, because it is critical that we protect the victims of these incredible abuses of privacy and violations of their fundamental rights.
And lastly, before I let you go, Senator, let me have you put your Transportation Committee hat on. Americans are wondering, is it safe to fly? What do you think about all these close calls? And are you concerned about a lack of staff at the FAA, and specifically with air traffic controllers?
So let me start with your opening question. Is it safe to fly? Yes, flying remains the safest way to travel in America. You are more likely to be killed driving to the airport than you are flying on a commercial airline flight. Now, that being said, the horrific crash outside D.C. Reagan Airport just a few weeks ago was the worst civil aviation accident in decades, and 77 lives were lost that evening. It obviously necessitates a careful examination by the NTSB of what exactly happened. It's clear there were multiple catastrophic failures that occurred that night. I think the NTSB does a thorough investigation based on the evidence. But one thing that is very clear, I believe we need to modernize our air traffic control system. Currently, our air traffic control system uses technology from the 1950s and 1960s. You literally have controllers that are using radar and little slips of paper and using computers that have floppy disks. And I'll tell you, if you ask your kids what's a floppy disk, they will have no idea. It makes no sense that we do not have up-to-date technology for air traffic control using GPS and the most advanced computer systems. I've been leading the fight for over a decade to modernize our air traffic control, and I hope that this horrific and catastrophic accident will become an impetus for Republicans and Democrats to come together and say, we're going to get this done because we've got to ensure that we're keeping the flying public safe.
Senator Ted Cruz, thanks for your time. I'm sorry to say we ran out quickly. Thank you.
Thank you.
And of course, tomorrow night, the president will no doubt address the situation with Ukraine and other global issues. After the world witnessed that shouting match in the Oval Office last Friday, the Kremlin said President Trump's vision largely aligns with theirs. ABC senior political correspondent Rachel Scott pressing the president tonight, asking him what would it take for him to make a deal with Zelensky.
Tonight at the White House, I pressed President Trump on what it would take to restart peace talks with Ukraine after that showdown in the Oval Office. Trump and Vice President J.D. Vance berating Ukrainian President Zelensky.
Thank you, Mr. President. What do you need to see from President Zelensky to restart these negotiations?
Well, I just think he should be more appreciative because this country has stuck with them through thick and thin.
Their blow-up shocking the world on a day when Ukraine was supposed to be signing a mineral agreement with the U.S. that would have brought them one step closer to peace. Instead, a shouting match.
Your country is in big trouble.
I know.
You're not winning. You're not winning this. You have a damn good chance of coming out okay because of us.
Mr. President, we are staying in our country, staying strong from the very beginning of the war. We've been alone, and we are thankful.
And an ultimatum.
You're either going to make a deal or we're out. And if we're out, you'll fight it out. I don't think it's going to be pretty, but you'll fight it out. But you don't have the cards.
Trump kicking Zelensky out of the White House, but Europe later embracing him. Over the weekend, allies calling him to an emergency meeting. King Charles extending a rare invitation. Tonight, Zelensky addressing Ukraine, saying, we need peace, real fair peace, not endless war, and we need security guarantees. Earlier noting an agreement to end the war is still very, very far away.
He said he thinks the war's going to go on for a long time, and he better not be right about that. That's all I'm saying.
The rift between Trump and Zelensky, music to the ears of Vladimir Putin. The Kremlin today saying Trump's foreign policy is, quote, largely in line with our vision. I asked Trump about that, and he turned it into a warning to Zelensky.
Russia says that your administration's foreign policy is, quote, largely in line with their vision.
Well, I'll tell you what, I think it takes two to tango, and you're going to have to make a deal with Russia, and you're going to have to make a deal with Ukraine. Now, maybe somebody doesn't want to make a deal, and if somebody doesn't want to make a deal, I think that person won't be around very long. That person will not be listened to very long.
And Rachel Scott joins us now. And Rachel, what is the update on the deal for minerals to peace in Ukraine?
Well, Juju, we know that President Trump met behind closed doors with his national security team today. And inside the Roosevelt Room, he was asked directly if he still believes there could be a deal with President Zelensky. He said he did not believe that the deal was dead just yet. But the big question still remains tonight, how to get these two sides back in a room talking again to get that deal ultimately across the finish line, Juju.
It sounds like a tall order. Rachel Scott, thank you. For more on this topic, let's bring in former U.S. Ambassador to Ukraine under President Bill Clinton, Ambassador Steve Pfeiffer. And let's bring you into the conversation. Steve, thanks so much for joining us, Ambassador.
Thank you for having me.
Now, President Trump had a stark warning today after that explosive Oval Office meeting on Friday. He said that anyone who didn't want peace wouldn't be around very long or listened to for very long. Your reaction to this veiled threat to one of our allies?
Well, there seems to be this misunderstanding. Nobody wants peace more than Volodymyr Zelensky. I mean, it's his cities that are getting bombed and rocketed every night. You know, it's his people, both soldiers and civilians, who are getting killed every day. But he wants a peace that will be durable, that will be just. And he doesn't want a peace that ends the war now, but then 3 years from now allows the Russians to invade again. So I think there's just this fundamental understanding on the part of President Trump about what Zelensky wants and does not want.
Now, we saw over the weekend a much different reception from European leaders towards President Zelensky and Ukraine. I'm curious what you're hearing from folks you know overseas after that White House meeting and the reception that Zelensky got yesterday in the UK, for example.
Well, I think we saw from the reception that Zelensky received yesterday is that the Europeans have basically come together, with the exception of, say, Viktor Orban of Hungary, to back Zelensky. Now, what came out of that discussion in London, I believe, is an agreement that British Prime Minister Starmer and French President Macron will try to be an intermediary for Zelensky to try to restore a more workable relationship between Washington and Kyiv. And I hope they succeed. But I also believe that they may have talked about what happens if, in fact, Trump is not ready to re-engage with Ukraine, cuts off American assistance, and then continues on a solo path towards engaging Russia.
And yet,
I hope
if you're the Trump administration, you would argue that, see, this was the whole point. We want Europe to engage further and pick up the tab more.
That's true. But again, while Europe, I believe, is prepared to continue supporting Ukraine, I don't think Europe on its own has the defense industrial capacity to do that. They need the United States there. And really, it's the United States that has the big political and military weight.
Sure, and you're keenly aware of the reality on the front lines. I wonder if you believe, can Ukraine keep up the war effort if the U.S. takes a major step back?
I mean, Ukrainians are tired of the war. They've suffered greatly. But there's a lot of determination, a lot of resilience there. They don't want a bad peace. They want to have some assurance that if they reach an agreement, that Ukraine has a security commitment such that it's not going to face a future Russian invasion. And they also worry about, territory that may be lost to Russia. And people, I think, in America, they look at it as just territory. Well, it's not just territory. It's 5 million Ukrainians on that territory who are now undergoing a Russian campaign to eradicate the Ukrainian language, Ukrainian culture, and basically Russify the population.
And you've seen many Republicans in the previous administration and previous years express strong support for Ukraine. What do you make of the turnabout?
I am surprised and disappointed that I think I saw over the weekend only 2 Republican senators basically express concern about what happened on Friday. I think that there are many more Republican senators who understand what is at stake. And I'm not talking just about what's at stake for Ukraine. Of course, they're facing an existential war. But the United States has importance at stake. If Ukraine loses, we're going to face a Vladimir Putin who will be emboldened.
And what do you see in your crystal ball moving forward? What's the most likely scenario?
I very much hope we can find a way to restore a working relationship between Washington and Kyiv, because I think that will be important, not just for supporting Ukraine, but actually increase the ability perhaps to find a solution to this awful war.
Ambassador Pfeiffer, thank you for your perspective. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
And we turn now to the state of emergency in South Carolina and the wildfires burning in the east. Crews are battling more than 175 wildfires across the Carolinas. More than 4,000 acres have already burned. One of the biggest fires is threatening homes in the Carolina forest near Myrtle Beach. ABC's Stephanie Ramos reports from Myrtle Beach.
Tonight, terrifying scenes in the South Carolina Lowcountry. Families racing to escape a raging wildfire. You can hear the fear in Gabby's voice as she and her boyfriend flee his home in Myrtle Beach.
Why we can't get out?
We're told the home was not damaged. The fire breaking out Saturday. You could hear those winds whipping as it quickly grew to more than 1,600 acres. The governor calling up National Guard helicopters, Blackhawks, and Chinooks, dumping hundreds of gallons of water on the flames. Fixed-wing aircraft scooping water from the intercoastal waterway. Vince and Barbara Genta shot this video as the fire closed in.
So that wind is what started it and start one fire and just kept going and going and going.
Authorities say no homes were destroyed, but many sustained damage. Michael Abel showing us the close call for his home.
It was close enough to the house to melt the siding here.
His fence practically melted away. The fire, just one of more than 175 burning in South Carolina amid bone-dry conditions. And just over the border, multiple fires burning in the Blue Ridge Mountains of North Carolina. Areas still reeling from Helene, now dealing with fire.
And now to that major cross-country storm. More than 115 million Americans are on alert tonight for blizzard, high wind, and tornado threats. Severe weather from the plains to the south, New Orleans even forced to cancel some Mardi Gras celebrations, and the system will reach the East Coast Wednesday. ABC's chief meteorologist Ginger Z, of course, is tracking it all. Hey, Ginger.
Hey, Juju, more than 24 states are involved. You'll see those pop up on the map here, but prominently displayed the wind alerts. Some of those are high wind warnings, and this is for the storm and the winds ahead of the main front. So I'm going to lay it all out here for you, but that could take 40 to 65 mile per hour winds. Power lines could come down, trees could come down, and that's not even with the severe storms part of it. So let's time it all out for you. Tonight, in the late night, and I'm talking after a lot of people go to sleep, Oklahoma City, Chickasha, Wichita Falls, the northwest side of Dallas, the main hazard is damaging winds, so in excess of 70 miles per hour. But anywhere from Wichita, Kansas on down through central Texas could see this. Now, as we go through the day tomorrow, this is going to keep blasting east. And so Jackson, Mississippi, it's in the afternoon. This is not a nightfall thing tomorrow. New Orleans also going to be seeing it. And I think it was a really good idea for them to move some of those celebrations because it's going to be windy ahead of it and then it's going to be really stormy. So anywhere from Mobile back to Jackson, Greenville, Little Rock is included. There's also a really higher threat tomorrow of tornadoes. So this is not just a damaging wind thing, but you'll see embedded tornadoes in there. Then we'll take this whole thing and blast it to the east. On the north side, you'll recognize that blue coloring. That is snow. We're still here after meteorological winter, but in the at least astronomical time. Chicago picking up some of that. Even Cincinnati could see some snow showers. But on the front side, it's heavy rain from Hartford and New York City, right down through New Jersey, South and North Carolina too. So they need the rain, but it's going to come with damaging wind threat on Wednesday. Juju?
Ginger, getting our umbrellas ready. Thanks so much for tracking it. And overseas now, a driver plowed into a crowd in Mannheim, Germany, killing at least 2 people and injuring dozens. It's the third incident of its kind in less than 3 months. Investigators are looking for the motive. ABC's chief international correspondent James Longman has more.
Hi Juju, dramatic scenes tonight in the German city of Mannheim at a carnival there. A car rammed deliberately into crowds. A CCTV caught this black vehicle racing through the city centre. One onlooker said all hell broke loose when he started this individual behind the wheel ramming people deliberately in the street. 2 people have been killed at least. A number of others are in a critical condition in the hospital, including children. Now, the suspect has been identified as Alexander Sherman, a 40-year-old with a history of mental illness. In fact, prosecutors said that he was psychologically unwell with concrete signs of mental illness. And as police closed in, he is understood to have shot himself in the mouth, but he is in a stable condition in the hospital, of course, still in police custody. Now, it's a delicate time in Germany because they've had a number of these ramming incidents in recent weeks and months. They have been attributed to terrorism, to Islamic terrorism, politically motivated attacks. Doesn't seem to be the case in this instance, purely an issue of mental illness, but nevertheless a worrying time for Germany. Juju?
A tragic update. James Longman, thank you. Coming up here on Prime, the urgent search for a missing 2-year-old boy in Oregon. But first, one of the most ambitious goals presidents have had for generations, getting humans to Mars. President Trump has promised he will make it a reality, but what challenges a mission like this could face?
Thursday. We have a possible hostage situation.
I got his location. There's nobody here.
911 is back.
Something's not right.
Almost nothing is right about it. As its most intense season yet continues.
Zip ties, rope, blood. He's a damn serial killer. And it looks like he took Maddie with him.
We're gonna find her. The 911 2-part return begins Thursday, 8/7 Central on ABC and stream on Hulu.
I'm 110% ready to fall in love.
Tall, handsome, smart. He's perfect. Time just stood still. It's kind of already sinking in that these other girls are dating my boyfriend.
Everybody just really wants Grant, and we're all fighting for his love.
You act like you don't care. He knows how I feel.
I know I'm in trouble.
Everyone's so mean.
I did not know how hard this was going to be.
Attention teachers, no child is to be sent to the principal's office today. Kids, if you want to do crime, now's the time. Happy first day of school.
Yes! Weren't there like 4 more of these?
Yeah, we were robbed.
Hey, buy 3, get 1 free. I'ma call your mother on you. Bring the rest back here, boy.
The news never stops.
From Tampa, we are here tonight as Hurricane Milton has just made landfall.
The surge just keeps coming up.
Right on the border between Ukraine and Russia.
In downtown Tel Aviv, rockets or missiles coming in.
ABC News Live everywhere.
We're not far from where this rally took place, so just stick with us here.
Here in London. From the front lines.
Off the coast of Gaza. Wherever the story is.
We're going to take you there. You're streaming ABC News Live.
ABC News Live.
You're streaming ABC News Live.
ABC News Live. Streaming free everywhere. A 12-year-old girl fighting for her life, stabbed 19 times. Her 2 so-called friends accused of the heinous crime.
How did a sleepover end in a brutal attack?
Now, 11 years later, with the 2 girls who brutally stabbed her, one released and free, and one about to be released.
Inside the case that gripped the nation and still captivates true crime junkies worldwide.
It is everywhere, and our jaws were on the floor.
Surviving Slender Man, now streaming on Hulu.
Boys.
Auntie?
Home.
This is how your father's business works. The life of crime and the life of this deli.
We're innocent.
We'd be the first innocent brown people in jail. Oh my God.
There's a gun in the credenza. Finish him off now.
What?
What part of this are you not understanding?
Credenza, if I'm being honest, I don't think I know what that is.
Welcome back. It would be the longest trip by astronauts in space ever, and it would be filled with unprecedented challenges. We're talking about the ambitious new goal to get humans to Mars. President Trump laid it out in his inaugural address, but is it even possible before he leaves office? In tonight's Prime Focus, our Gio Benitez looks at the promise and the perils of the dream to plant the American flag on the red planet.
All engine running.
We choose to go to the moon in this decade and do the other things, not because they are easy, but because they are hard.
It's 1 small step for man, 1 giant leap for mankind.
I am determined that the American space program will put its full intellectual power and technological prowess behind the search for further evidence of life on Mars.
We will then be ready to take the next steps of space exploration, human missions to Mars and to worlds beyond.
By the mid-2030s, I believe we can send humans to orbit Mars and return them safely to Earth.
It's been a lofty goal presidents have had their sights on for generations.
We will pursue our manifest destiny into the stars, launching American astronauts to plant the stars and stripes on the planet Mars.
Now a new ambitious push for humans to set foot on Mars. Can NASA pull it off?
I think NASA's track record of making the seemingly impossible happen is proof.
I look at the plans for going to Mars and I think, oh my gosh, that seems impossible. But we've done the impossible before, so I think we can do it again.
And with SpaceX's Elon Musk having the president's ear, the impossible may finally be within reach.
Can you imagine how awesome it will be to have American astronauts plant the flag on another planet for the first time?
NASA confirming, for now at least, layoffs are not on the horizon. And it will take a Herculean effort to make a mission to Mars a reality.
To get humans to Mars, a dream that's been out there for 50, 60 or more years.
And that next window is just a year and a half away.
Even with the most powerful rockets we have, there is a window of 20 days every 26 months, and that's it. Literally be there or forget about it.
Dr. Scott Hubbard is someone who knows what it takes to get to the red planet. He used to run NASA's Mars program.
I invented something called Program Systems Engineering, which is the idea of how do you couple missions so each builds on the other.
Now NASA is trying to build from the Artemis mission to the moon to humans setting foot on Mars. It will be an incredibly challenging mission filled with problems never encountered before, and a crew of astronauts daring enough to make the journey.
Astronauts are here to explore, and astronauts, go to space because they believe that humans should be a multi-planet species.
Do any of you want to go to Mars?
If we had all those answers today, I would absolutely go to Mars.
Ignition and liftoff of Starliner and Atlas V.
Astronauts Sonny Williams and Butch Wilmore thought they were signing up for an 8-day trip to the ISS. 9 months later, they're still there.
We came up here fully trained, so not returning on our spacecraft, we transitioned into being a crew members on the International Space Station.
And this experience may one day be useful to those Mars explorers.
Being up here, it's not about a singular mission. It's not about a singular trip to Mars. We're part of a long legacy of exploration, of human exploration of space, and we're doing our little part to try to advance that.
We've got this timetable of going to Mars, and it appears to be moving up. What is some of the research on the space station right now that could help with that?
We've done several experiments where we're growing things. How do we sustain ourselves? We can't pack all the resources we need on a trip to Mars and sustain a long mission. So we're going to have to figure out how to grow the food that we're going to need.
But there are so many problems that need to be solved.
Do I think we could do it? Yes, we could do it. There would be a lot of extra risk that we haven't had a time to reduce yet.
Dr. Rihanna Bakari is thinking about how to get humans to Mars.
So right now, all of our healthcare delivery to astronauts really focuses on direct communication with Earth. And that communication delay is going to be quite large. If you have to wait for 40 minutes to figure out if you need XYZ drug and something really critical is happening, that's going to be a problem.
To put it mildly, the journey would be unprecedented. We're talking about a journey that could take months just to get there.
You're absolutely right. Things are likely to break on a trip to and from Mars. So you cannot take every single spare part with you. You're going to have some way of additive manufacturing, 3D printing.
In addition to transportation, you need a habitat. We have not yet built a place for astronauts to live for the 6 or 7 months it would take to get there and have really reliable life support. And to get to the land, you have to do what is the hardest entry, descent, and landing in the solar system. Mars has a very thin atmosphere, and it makes it the worst. So you've got to use all the tricks in the book to get safely to the surface.
And getting there is only half the battle. A round-trip mission would take at least 3 years, and astronauts would be exposed to all sorts of conditions that could lead to health problems.
You'd have to accept that increased potential risk of cancer. The bone and muscle risk, there's not really a current solution right now. The mental health risk, the potential for an emergency.
Will NASA solve all of these problems in just 18 months?
I seriously doubt that you can get humans to Mars and be ready when the window opens in 1.5 years. Not all opportunities are equal. And if you were to look out to 2033, you see an opportunity that comes only once every 15 years.
Ambition is the lifeblood of a great nation. And right now, our nation is more ambitious than any other.
Ambition is what it will take to get to Mars, and those astronauts on the ISS have a little advice for whoever might make the trip.
Nothing goes as planned, and be ready for that. A little challenge, a little adversity brings out the best in us, honestly. It'll make you think outside the box, make you find solutions, and make you find out a little bit more about yourself.
From Apollo to Artemis to the Red Planet, Americans once again reaching for the stars and trying to redefine what's possible.
Americans are explorers, builders, innovators, entrepreneurs, and pioneers. If we work together, there is nothing we cannot do and no dream we cannot achieve.
Our thanks to Gio. Coming up, the luxury cruise ship in rough waters. And we look back at all the unforgettable moments from the Oscars.
I'd never seen that many skeletal remains. Thousands.
This killer, he's the dumber you've never heard of.
There were mannequins, almost like it was a club.
I felt the presence of evil.
Never before a face-to-face interview with the camera.
Why now?
Let me ask you, am I the evil culprit, the accomplice? I'd like to know how the audience views me.
The Fox Hollow Murders, playground of a serial killer, only on Hulu.
People do not know how to date. That's why they come to us.
As a matchmaker, we're here to help you get your wings on.
Let's get some people married. Why are you single?
Maybe the kind of guys that I go for.
You go for hot guys.
Yeah.
It's a pitfall.
What would you say are like the top things you're looking for?
You don't like hairy men, so all Muslims are out. What are you talking about?
This process doesn't have to suck. He's cute.
Make it happen, boo.
GMA Friday morning.
Here we go.
Ready for a little gaga?
Abracadabra.
Abracadabra. From her new music, everyone's waiting for.
You call it mayhem.
Yes.
What does this album tell us about the phase of life you're in right now?
To life with her fiancé.
How's wedding planning going?
Oh my gosh. It's gaga as you've never seen before.
Provocative, strong, sensational.
Friday morning.
I could die with a smile now because I'm hanging out with you.
Me too. Only on Good Morning America.
The news never stops. We are here in Israel, a nation at war.
Hurricane Helene
Screaming across the state.
And that's why ABC News Live never stops.
Taking you to the center of the story.
As news breaks live.
ABC News Live is there for you all morning live. Right there. As events unfold across the day.
Breaking down the day's top stories. ABC News Live Prime going there, wherever the story is.
And ABC News Live lighting up the weekend.
ABC News Live.
Because the news never stops.
Attention teachers, no child is to be sent to the principal's office today. Kids, if you want to do crime, now's the time. Happy first day of school. Yes! Weren't there like 4 more of these?
Yeah, we were robbed.
Hey, buy 3, get 1 free.
I'ma call your mother on you. Bring the rest back here, boy.
I'm 110% ready to fall in love.
Tall, handsome, smart. He's perfect.
Time just stood still. It's kind of already sinking in that these other girls are dating my boyfriend.
Everybody just really wants Grant, and we're all fighting for his love.
You act like you don't care.
He knows how I feel.
I know I'm in trouble.
Everyone's so mean.
I did not know how hard this was gonna be.
Boys.
Auntie?
Oh.
This is how your father's business works. The life of crime and the life of this deli.
We're innocent. We'd be the first innocent brown people in jail. Oh my God.
There's a gun in the credenza. Finish him off now.
What?
What part of this are you not understanding?
Credenza, if I'm being honest, I don't think I know what that is.
Reporting from the Washington, D.C. jail as January 6 prisoners are being released. I'm Jay O'Brien. Wherever the story is, we'll take you there. You're streaming ABC News Live.
Last night's Academy Awards celebrated the best in film over the past year, and there were plenty of historic moments to make the 97th edition of this ceremony stand out on its own. Let's look at last night's big moments by the numbers. Anora led the way with 5 Oscars, including Best Picture. 4 Oscars went to the film's director, Sean Baker alone, setting a record for competitive wins for one film by a nominee at a single show. It was also a night of firsts. Latvia and Brazil won their first Oscars for Flow and I'm Still Here, respectively. Meanwhile, Wicked's Paul Tazwell became the first black man to win the award for Best Costume Design. And Best Supporting Actress winner Zoe Saldana noted that she was the first American of Dominican origin to win an Oscar. Not a first, Adrien Brody winning his second Best Actor Oscar for The Brutalist. His speech lasted a reported 5 minutes 40 seconds, longer than the previous Guinness World Record for longest Oscar speech. And if this seems like a lot for one Oscars, this year's ceremony clocked in at a reported 3 hours, 46 minutes, only slightly above the general 3.5-hour runtime, but a far cry from the first Academy Awards that lasted all of 15 minutes. Coming up, if you've ever been caught in the painful gray area between romance and let's be friends, then he has the song for you. The Struts frontman Luke Spiller is here to talk about his new solo album. But next, it's the bird's nest watched around the world. These bald eagle parents have had their eggs eaten by ravens, and their previous eggs didn't hatch. But now, hope again for eaglets.
A 12-year-old girl fighting for her life, stabbed 19 times. Her two so-called friends accused of the heinous crime.
How did a sleepover end in a brutal attack?
Now, 11 years later, with the two girls who brutally stabbed her, one released and free, and one about to be released.
Inside the case that gripped the nation and still captivates true crime junkies worldwide.
It is everywhere, and our jaws were on the floor.
Surviving Slender Man, now streaming on Hulu.
Look at where we are.
Life could be a dream.
Practicing medicine on the ocean.
If I take you paradise.
It's heaven on earth, right?
Life could be a dream.
We are surrounded by sharks. We can't move, and we can't send a distress signal.
What's good to watch? Read? Where can I get a great deal on what I'm just dying to buy? Oh, it's all right here. GMA Life. All the exclusive and buzziest celebrity good stuff. Deals and steals with amazing savings and the coolest lifestyle tips from Good Morning America.
Get excited! Woo.
I love that so much. It's time for GMA Life.
GMA Life, streaming weekends on ABC News Live. Your weekend just got a little better with GMA Life.
Boys.
Auntie?
Oh. This is how your father's business works. The life of crime and the life of this deli.
We're innocent. We'd be the first innocent brown people in jail. Oh my God.
There's a gun in the credenza. Finish him off now.
What?
What part of this are you not understanding?
Credenza, if I'm being honest, I don't think I know what that is.
Attention teachers, no child is to be sent to the principal's office today. Kids, if you want to do crime, now's the time. Happy first day of school.
Yes! Weren't there like 4 more of these?
Yeah, we were robbed.
Hey, buy 3, get 1 free.
I'ma call your mother on you. Bring the rest back here, boy.
I'd never seen that many skeletal remains. Thousands.
This killer, he's the dumber you've never heard of.
There were mannequins, almost like it was a club.
I felt the presence of evil.
Never before a face-to-face interview with the camera.
Why now? Let me ask you, am I the evil culprit, the accomplice? I'd like to know how the audience views me.
The Fox Hollow Murders, playground of a serial killer, only on Hulu.
16 people were injured when their luxury cruise ship hit rough seas. A massive search is underway for a 2-year-old who disappeared from his own front yard. And the nest live-streamed around the world. Will these rare bald eaglets make it? These stories and much more in tonight's Rundown.
Cruise ship passengers off the coast of New Zealand had a stomach-churning experience over the weekend. At least 16 people were hurt when the massive Crown Princess ship hit stormy water and reportedly tilted 14 degrees to its side. Social media video shows food and dishes scattered in the kitchen and water pouring out of the pool onto the deck. The cruise had set sail from Australia. Luckily, the injuries were minor. Concerning new global health numbers, A new study from The Lancet finds the world is on track for a major obesity crisis. The study suggests that by 2050, 60% of adults and a third of kids will be classified as overweight or obese. The U.S. is already seeing rates of more than 50%. In the most comprehensive global analysis to date, youth obesity is expected to rise by 121%. Tonight, an urgent search is underway for a missing 2-year-old boy in Lincoln County, Oregon. Authorities say Dane Paulson was last seen playing in the front yard of his family home on Saturday, out of sight from his parents. Multiple search and rescue teams, including divers, drones, and dogs, have all been called in to help find him.
There is no evidence at this time to suggest that any criminal actions were involved in the incident.
The search area now extending nearly 300 miles. 11 correction officers at a New York State prison are now on leave after the death of an inmate. 22-year-old Messiah Nantwi died over the weekend at the Mid-State Correctional Facility in Marcy, New York, and the state attorney general is now investigating. 9 prisoners interviewed by the New York Times say corrections officers beat the 22-year-old man on Saturday after he refused to go to a cell for a prisoner count. Prison officials confirmed the death, but would not say how he died. The Mid-State Correctional Facility is right across the street from the Marcy Correctional Facility, where another inmate was allegedly beaten to death by corrections officers late last year. Tennis great Serena Williams is moving from one court to another. She's joining the ownership group of the newest WNBA franchise, the Toronto Tempo. That's the league's first team in Canada. The team expected to make its debut next fall. Big Bear, California is hosting the world's most famous bald eagle parents, thanks to a webcam watching their every move. And right now, all eyes are on these 3 eggs. You can hear the wind howling on the now famous webcam perched high up in the snow-covered trees, honed in on Jackie and Shadow and their eggs. Tens of thousands of people are watching for signs of their eggs hatching after 2 years of dashed hopes. And now, 2 pips, or cracks, indicating an eaglet could soon crack its shell.
Billions of people around the world are taking part in Ramadan, a month-long event that started this weekend in which Muslims pray, fast, and reflect as a community. Muslims believe Ramadan was the month when the Quran, the holy book in Islam, was revealed to their prophet Muhammad. During this holy month, Muslims fast between dawn and sunset. At dusk, families and friends come together to break their fast. Muslims consider fasting, which allows them to come closer to God. Ramadan ends on Eid in about a month when a new moon is seen in the sky. He's known as the flamboyant frontman of platinum-selling British rock band The Struts. Luke Spiller has toured the world, played sold-out venues, and has performed alongside the likes of the Rolling Stones, the Foo Fighters, and Tom Morello. Now he's preparing for his next act, a solo project. His debut album, Love Will Probably Kill Me Before Cigarettes and Wine, is set to release on April 25th, and it's being hailed as a cinematic sonic expedition that mirrors a James Bond score and documents all the love, heartbreak, and beauty of Los Angeles, which is where he calls home. Let's take a listen.
'Cause love will probably kill me before cigarettes and wine, but I don't my heart.
It does sound like a bit like a Bond theme for sure. And Luke Spiller joins us now in the studio. Luke, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me. I'm glad I wore blue. I match
You blend
everything.
in perfectly with the new studio, absolutely. Now, Dave Grohl of the Foo Fighters once called you the best opening act ever, which I told you I saw Joan Jett open, so, you know, no offense to the Queen.
Yeah, one of my lookalikes, apparently, allegedly.
Exactly right. So tell me, I love the album title. What inspired this first debut album?
Well, it was really born out of like curiosity. As you mentioned, I've been with my band, The Struts, for it's approaching like over 15 years now, and I just sort of felt it was time to not only do something for myself, but also showcase another side to me, which I'd sort of been longing to do for quite some time. And I felt like it was the right time to do it. And I'm so glad that I saw it through to the end. And I'm just really excited for everyone to hear these new songs and, of course, the album.
What are the special, I don't know, Easter eggs for the fans?
Well, I've just released a new song. I've got another one coming out on the 21st of this month as well, which is my mum's favorite. It's called She's Just Like California, and the whole album.
She's just like
California. Not cheese. No.
Cheese is But you also released a lyric video. It's the latest single. The ending is always the same, and it stars Noel Fielding of the Mighty Boosh and Great British Baking Show fame, and he just sits there. How did that collaboration come about?
Well, my creative director, Joseph Lynn, who I've been working with for quite some time, has worked closely with Noel, and I've met Noel a few times. But basically, when the singles got chosen in the order of the release dates, that was one of the 2 videos on the entire record that we hadn't shot yet. So we had to kind of really think on the spot, and we decided to do a lyric video, but instead of just doing your normal bog standard sort of still picture with just the lyrics coming up, we got Noel involved and did kind of like this quirky, comedic, kind of Monty Python-esque visual to go with it. But he's also one of my artistic and comedic heroes, so it was an absolute honor to have him in it.
That's awesome. And I mentioned that you call LA home, and you've been saved through the wildfires, but you're actually here in New York for a benefit concert, and you're going to be starring alongside Cher, Alicia Keys, and so many more this week. What's next for you after this album release?
After the album comes out, I'm going to be doing a few shows, which are still in the works to kind of help promote it. And I'm also, I've given myself the impossible task of writing a follow-up solo EP and a full-length Struts album before myself and the rest of the band go out on tour this fall to do a really, really unique tour, which I think the fans are going to absolutely love. Do you know what I mean?
Well, you can tell your creative juices are flowing. Luke Spiller, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you very much.
I really appreciate it. Make sure to listen to Love Will Probably Kill Me Before Cigarettes and Wine on April 25th, wherever you stream music. And that's our show for this hour. I'm Juju Chang. Stay tuned to ABC News Live for more context and analysis of the day's top stories. Moments ago, President Trump pausing aid to Ukraine. Our team standing by to break it down. And hundreds of protesters protesting cuts at NOAA headquarters today as their laid-off scientists warn that Americans could lose access to severe weather alerts and even your daily forecast.
What's good to watch, read? Where can I get a great deal on what I'm just dying to buy? Oh, it's all right here. GMA Life. All the exclusive and buzziest celebrity good stuff. Deals and steals with amazing savings and the coolest lifestyle tips from Good Morning America.
Get excited! I love that so much. It's time for GMA Life.
GMA Life, streaming weekends on ABC News Live. Your weekend just got a little better with GMA Life.
I'd never seen that many skeletal remains. Thousands.
This killer, he's the dumber you've never heard of.
There were mannequins, almost like it was a club.
I felt the presence of evil.
Never before a face-to-face interview with the camera.
Why now? Let me ask you, am I the evil culprit, the accomplice? I'd like to know how the audience views me.
The Fox Hollow Murders, playground of a serial killer, only on Hulu.
I'm 110% ready to fall in love.
Tall, handsome, smart. He's perfect. Time just stood still. It's kind of already sinking in that these other girls are dating my boyfriend.
Everybody just really wants Grant, and we're all fighting for his love.
You act like you don't care.
He knows how I feel.
I know I'm in trouble.
Everyone's so mean.
I did not know how hard this was gonna be.
The news never stops. We are here in Israel, a nation at war.
Hurricane Helene screaming across the state, and that's why ABC News Live never stops.
Taking you to the center of the story as news breaks live.
ABC News Live is there for you all morning live. Right there. As events unfold across the day, breaking down the day's top stories. ABC News Live Prime going there, wherever the story is.
And ABC News Live lighting up the weekend.
ABC News Live.
Because the news never stops.
Thursday.
We have a possible hostage situation.
I got his location.
There's nobody here.
911 is back.
Something's not right.
Almost nothing is right about it. As its most intense season yet continues.
Zip ties, rope,
Blood. He's a damn serial killer. And it looks like he took Maddie with him.
We're gonna find her. The 911 two-part return begins Thursday, 8/7 Central on ABC and stream on Hulu.
The news never stops.
From Tampa, we are here tonight as Hurricane Milton has just made landfall.
The surge just keeps coming up.
Right on the border between Ukraine and Russia.
In downtown Tel Aviv, rockets or missiles coming in.
ABC News Live everywhere.
We're not far from where this rally took place, so just stick with us here.
Here in London, from the front lines,
Off the coast of Gaza.
Wherever the story is.
we're going to take you there. You're streaming.
ABC News Live.
ABC News Live.
You're streaming ABC News Live.
ABC News Live, streaming free everywhere.
Reporting from Donald Trump's inaugural ball, I'm Kira Phillips. Wherever the story is, we'll take you there. You're watching ABC News Live.
And good evening, everyone. I'm Juju Chang in for Linsey Davis. Thanks so much for streaming with us. We begin with breaking news tonight. In a tectonic foreign policy shift, President Donald Trump has directed a pause on shipments of U.S. military aid to Ukraine following Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky's disastrous dust-up in the Oval Office with the president and vice president last week. After 3 years of continuous support to this strategic ally, a White House official confirming tonight that the administration is reviewing all U.S. military aid to Ukraine to ensure that Ukraine is committed to coming to a peace deal with Russia to end the more than 3-year-long war in Ukraine. President Trump slammed the Ukrainian president today for suggesting the end of the war was still likely very, very far away. We have ABC News contributor Mick Mulroy standing by for more details. But first, here's ABC News Chief White House correspondent Mary Bruce.
Tonight at the White House, I pressed President Trump on what it would take to restart peace talks with Ukraine after that showdown in the Oval Office. Trump and Vice President J.D. Vance berating Ukrainian President Zelensky.
Thank you, Mr. President. What do you need to see from President Zelensky to restart these negotiations?
Well, I just think he should be more appreciative because this country has stuck with them through thick and thin.
Their blow-up shocking the world on a day when Ukraine was supposed to be signing a mineral agreement with the U.S. that would have brought them one step closer to peace. Instead, a shouting match.
Your country is in big trouble.
I know.
You're not winning. You're not winning this. You have a damn good chance of coming out okay because of us.
Mr. President, we are staying in our country, staying strong from the very beginning of the war. We've been alone, and we are thankful.
And an ultimatum.
You're either going to make a deal or we're out. And if we're out, you'll fight it out. I don't think it's going to be pretty, but you'll fight it out. But you don't have the cards.
Trump kicking Zelensky out of the White House, but Europe later embracing him. Over the weekend, allies calling him to an emergency meeting. King Charles extending a rare invitation. Tonight, Zelensky addressing Ukraine saying, "We need peace, real fair peace, not endless war, and we need security guarantees." Earlier noting an agreement to end the war is still very, very far away.
He said he thinks the war's going to go on for a long time, and he better not be right about that. That's all I'm saying.
The rift between Trump and Zelensky, music to the ears of Vladimir Putin. The Kremlin today saying Trump's foreign policy is, quote, largely in line with our vision. I asked Trump about that, and he turned it into a warning to Zelensky.
Russia says that your administration's foreign policy is, quote, largely in line with their vision.
Well, I'll tell you what, I think it takes two to tango, and you're going to have to make a deal with Russia, and you're going to have to make a deal with Ukraine. Now, maybe somebody doesn't want to make a deal, and if somebody doesn't want to make a deal, I think that person won't be around very long. That person will not be listened to very long.
Our thanks to Rachel Scott. And joining us now is Mick Mulroy, former Deputy Assistant Secretary of Defense for the Middle East and ABC News national security and defense analyst. Mick, we learned just now that the U.S. is pausing military aid to Ukraine. How big a blow is that to their fight against Russia?
Juju, it's a big blow. I mean, not only the aid that was on the way and already been approved, but the potential that no aid will be coming in the future. Right now, Ukraine is already outnumbered vastly. So about 3-1 on troops, about 5-1 on artillery, and all the way up to 10-1 on tanks and armored personnel carrier. So any pause or disruption or stopping of aid to Ukraine will have a big impact on Ukraine in the battlefield. And likely it'll push Russia further away from the negotiation table as they'll see this as a win and things going in their direction. So it could actually extend this war substantially. I know that's not the intent, but that could be what happened, as Russia will have less of an incentive to come back to the table.
And that's precisely what Zelensky said. Now, the previous administration, with broad congressional support, I might add, sent about $65 billion in military aid since Russia's invasion. Can Ukraine win this war without U.S. assistance? Because we saw European allies step up.
Well, they certainly don't want to try. They need the assistance. It's been substantial, and so has Europe. But if this stays the course and we do not turn aid back on and actually contribute more, then Europe's going to have to step up substantially. They might have to double their contributions. And of course, there's also this talk about the frozen Russian assets that are in Europe. They're up to $325 billion. So they could make up for this. But essentially, the way the West could be strong on this is to be united, not cut any aid to Ukraine, and actually threaten Russia with increased aid if they don't come to the negotiation table. There has been almost no discussion of what Russia would give up for this or whether they would be even willing to negotiate a ceasefire.
And of course, this dramatic pause comes on the heels of that disastrous Oval Office meetup on Friday. How could this move impact U.S. and Ukrainian relations moving forward?
Well, certainly that was a setback for the relationships between the two countries. But ultimately, it's a much broader question than personalities, even the personalities of presidents. This is in the U.S.'s interest to ensure Russia is not successful in Ukraine. If they are, they could easily move on to another country, potentially even a NATO country. It is the United States versus Russia. It's not the United States versus Ukraine. Ukraine is a country that's 28 times smaller than Russia. They need their partners and allies to win this. Most people didn't think they'd be still standing after 3 weeks, let alone 3 years. But this is a much bigger question than that one meeting, and I think that needs to come through.
In many ways, we're seeing a global realignment. We saw over the weekend a much different reception from European leaders towards President Zelensky and Ukraine. How long can assistance from Europe alone sustain Ukraine's efforts?
Well, it looks like Europe's looking at two things. Obviously, increasing their own direct military aid to Ukraine, but also increasing their own military capacity. Because of this apparent realignment of the U.S. Foreign policy more in line with Russia, Europe's very concerned about the NATO alliance and whether Article 5 in that alliance would hold true and support them. So they are increasing their military substantially, according to every statement made by European leaders, and potentially building this European Defense Force, which would be an integrated military across Europe, something that I think should have been happening a long time ago, but certainly right now, because of the statements by the United States on their relationship with Russia, for example, who started the war in Ukraine, obviously Russia, that has really concerned our European allies, and they are stepping up, at least rhetorically right now, but hopefully that will be followed by action.
How much damage, if any, is there to American global leadership? The Trump administration might argue this is what should have happened, that Europe should have stepped up to pay a bigger share of this war effort.
And I certainly think there's a case to be made, not only for a bigger share of the war effort, as it's right on their doorstep, but the fact that Europe really has let their militaries not be what they should be, because they could always rely on the United States. And I think they should always rely on the United States, but that should be as a partner, an equal partner. I think we're seeing that right now. But this will have an effect on that relationship long term.
Mick Mulroy, thank you so much for your perspective. Appreciate it. And next tonight, to those tariffs and the trade war looming with our North American neighbors, Americans now bracing for more painful price hikes on everything from gas to avocados to cell phones. Let's get to Chief White House correspondent Mary Bruce.
Tonight, the Dow tumbling 600 points on President Trump's announcement that he's moving forward with sweeping new tariffs against Canada and Mexico at the stroke of midnight. Trump saying there's nothing they can do to change his mind.
No room left for Mexico or for Canada. No, the tariffs, they're all set.
Trump adding a 25% tax on all goods coming across the border from Mexico and Canada, and an additional 10% on Chinese products. Economists point out the cost will be paid by American businesses, who will pass it on to consumers by raising prices. By one estimate, the average household will spend up to $2,000 more a year on everything from produce to clothes to electronics. The cost of a new car could spike $3,000. The CEO of Ford warning long-term a 25% tariff across the Mexico and Canada borders would blow a hole in the U.S. industry that we've never seen. Trump undeterred.
So what they have to do is build their car plants, frankly, and other things in the United States.
But legendary investor Warren Buffett calling tariffs essentially an act of war.
I mean, tariffs are actually, we've had a lot of experience with them. They're an act of war to some degree.
And tonight, Mexico and Canada already vowing to retaliate by slapping taxes on American goods.
We will have a strong, unequivocal, and proportional response as Canadians expect.
Already the anger is palpable. Canadians booing the Star-Spangled Banner when the LA Galaxy soccer team played the Vancouver Whitecaps overnight. And when Trump first threatened tariffs, Canadian liquor stores took American whiskey off the shelves. Trump insists his tariffs are meant to pressure Mexico and Canada to stop the flow of deadly drugs and migrants coming into the country. But less than 1% of the fentanyl seized coming into the U.S. last year came across the Canadian border. Over the last month, both countries trying to negotiate. Canada appointing a fentanyl czar, Mexico surging 10,000 troops to the border and sending back criminals wanted in the U.S. But Trump tonight says it isn't enough and seemed to expand his reasons for imposing these tariffs in the first place.
They can't come in and steal our money and steal our jobs and take our factories and take our businesses and expect not to be punished. And they're being punished by tariffs.
Mary Bruce, thank you. Be sure to tune in tomorrow at 9 p.m. Eastern to watch our live coverage of President Trump's joint address to the nation and the Democratic response. Nearly 600 employees from the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, or NOAA, were included in the most recent government layoffs. That was roughly 5% of their workforce. Hundreds of people gathered today at NOAA headquarters in D.C. and Colorado to protest the downsizing. Now, you might be wondering, what does this mean for you? Well, joining us now is former NOAA research scientist Zach Laib. Thanks for being with us, Zach.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Now, I know that weather is something that clearly impacts everybody, but explain how much of the weather information that people are getting on their phones, on their apps, and their local news depends on NOAA and the National Weather Service.
Really, NOAA is providing the foundation for just that, all of the data that supports the weather apps on your phone, the newspaper forecast, your TV forecast. All of that is being done by researchers and forecasters from NOAA and the National Weather Service.
So the American Meteorological Society is out with a statement on these layoffs, and they're saying, quote, the consequences to the American people will be large and wide-ranging, including increased vulnerability to hazardous weather. So, Zach, what's the worst-case scenario for the impact of these layoffs?
Well, I can guarantee that my colleagues still at NOAA will be trying their hardest to make sure we still get out that forecast to warn you of an approaching hurricane or a day that has a risk of a tornado. But the problem is that it's been known for years that NOAA has been understaffed. And the concern is that by having fewer and fewer staff, researchers and forecasters working to understand this extreme weather, that this will lead to burnout and that this will lead to possibilities that there's inaccuracies in the forecast. So it's directly linked to a public safety concern.
And because there's an amplifier effect, I would imagine that the raw data needs to be that much more accurate. Now, I know that you got a layoff notice yourself late last week. How long have you been at NOAA, and what was your job? What are your plans?
I started back in 2022 at a NOAA Cooperative Institute. So I was hired essentially as a contractor between Princeton University and NOAA's Geophysical Fluid Dynamics Laboratory, and then only finally recently became a federal civil servant as a research position at NOAA. So in fact, many of my colleagues that were impacted by these layoffs have been at NOAA in some cases for decades. And they were just perhaps, promoted to a new position and entered this probationary status. So we're seeing not only is it just a new hires, those who started recently, but people are being affected who have been at NOAA for decades. And this is a great loss of institutional knowledge.
That is a lot of institutional memory walking out the door. Now, NOAA is also responsible for tracking and predicting tropical weather systems and hurricanes. How might this impact the upcoming hurricane season with all these staff cuts?
Absolutely. It's going to affect it in several ways. So some of the people impacted by these layoffs were those who are directly working to advance our models, to make sure that the U.S. models that predict the hurricanes are the best of the best. And so some of these people were those who were, one of very few who can actually run and develop the models that predict these hurricanes. And we're also seeing impacts to the forecasters, those providing you 24-hour coverage, of an approaching hurricane making landfall were directly impacted this. So we're going to see it both in terms of the forecast and the operational side, which will certainly lead to pushbacks in the short term, this hurricane season, and going forward into the future with the loss of people who are developing to improve our forecasts.
Now, I'm sure you're still in touch with so many of your friends and people at NOAA. What are your colleagues most concerned about tonight?
I think many of my colleagues have just been expressing support to raise, our stories of what we do at NOAA. NOAA is by far one of the most mission-driven agencies. It's really not just to only understand our changing weather and environment, but it's also to educate others and communicate this information to the public. Everyone I work with is working not just at the science, but to understand how this affects people, how it affects the American public with a real focus on public safety and communication.
Exactly. Public servant, thank you. And we're thinking of you and your colleagues tonight. Thanks.
Thank you.
And tonight, multiple pilots have warned that they've been getting false alarms known as mid-air collision alerts designed to prevent disasters. ABC's Gio Benitez covers aviation, and he has the latest.
Just weeks after that deadly mid-air crash over the Potomac River, moments after a Black Hawk helicopter was warned it was too close to a passenger jet, now comes word that multiple pilots received collision alerts on final approach to Reagan National Airport. But this time, it would appear those warnings are false alarms, and authorities are asking, what's going on?
We got a couple of traffic advisories, the cautions. We didn't see anybody either.
A source with direct knowledge telling ABC News 6 planes received those mid-air collision warnings in the cockpit Saturday, 3 forced to perform go-arounds. Those traffic collision avoidance systems, known as TCAS, alert pilots if another aircraft is nearby or on a collision course with their plane. But no other planes were close.
There's no known traffic between you and the field. We've had multiple arrivals today report TAs and RAs for unknown targets. Use caution.
Experts say it's critical these systems work properly to avoid false alarms.
It's a potential major distraction of a flight crew at a very critical time of flight, which is landing. So if these are not real warnings, and they haven't been, they're distracting and they're dangerous.
Our thanks to Gio. Tonight, Senate Democrats blocked a GOP-led bill aimed at barring trans athletes from participating in women's sports. As expected, Democrats voted in unison to reject the Protection of Women and Girls in Sports Act from moving forward. The bill failed by a vote of 51 to 45. It needed 60 votes in order to advance. An airline passenger is in the hospital after being stung by a scorpion at Boston's Logan Airport. The passenger was stung on the finger while retrieving her luggage from the baggage claim. No word on the type of scorpion, as authorities don't yet know where it came from. The person affected was returning from a trip to Mexico. And coming up, a troubling update on the Pope's condition from the Vatican tonight as the pontiff battles pneumonia in the hospital for the 18th day.
I'm 110% ready to fall in love.
Tall, handsome, smart.
He's perfect.
Time just stood still.
It's kind of already sinking in that these other girls are dating my boyfriend.
Everybody just really wants Grant, and we're all fighting for his love.
You act like you don't care.
He knows how I feel.
I know I'm in trouble.
Everyone's so mean.
I did not know how hard this was going to be.
It was a kidnapping, torture case.
A crime of greed and cruelty.
The men tortured the victim by beating, tasing, and burning him.
And this is where it gets really horrible. The guy was cutting off my roommates. It was like a bad dream.
This crime was horrific.
He's a psychopath.
How could you possibly defend somebody like that?
This was a story about greed, sadism, evil.
Wicked Game, Devil in the Desert, only on Hulu. A 12-year-old girl fighting for her life, stabbed 19 times. Her two so-called friends accused of the heinous crime.
How did a sleepover end in a brutal attack?
Now, 11 years later, with the two girls who brutally stabbed her, one released and free, and one about to be released.
Inside the case that gripped the nation and still captivates true crime junkies worldwide.
It is everywhere, and our jaws were on the floor.
Surviving Slender Man, now streaming on Hulu.
Thursday. We have a possible hostage situation.
I got his location.
There's nobody here.
911 is back.
Something's not right.
Almost nothing is right about it. As its most intense season yet continues.
Zip ties, rope,
blood. He's a damn serial killer. And it looks like he took Maddie with him.
We're gonna find her. The 911 two-part return begins Thursday, 8/7 Central on ABC and stream on Hulu.
Reporting from the fire line of the Franklin Fire in Malibu, California, I'm Trevor Alt. Wherever the story is, we'll take you there. You're streaming ABC News Live.
And we're tracking several headlines around the world at this hour. At least 2 people were killed, 25 injured when a car drove into a crowd during a carnival celebration in Mannheim, Germany. Police arrested a 40-year-old German citizen suspected to have carried out the attack. ABC News reporting he was mentally ill. The suspect shot himself as police moved in, but survived after being taken to a hospital. The motive for the attack remains under investigation. Israel imposed a blockade on all humanitarian aid heading into Gaza. The decision came after Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu accused Hamas of refusing to accept the extension of Phase 1 of the ceasefire deal. Hamas, on the other hand, insisting on implementing the agreement as it was signed. In response, Netanyahu stopped the entry of food and supplies into Gaza and warned of additional consequences for Hamas. The UN and the European Union called on Israel to restore access to humanitarian aid in the Gaza Strip. A major update on Pope Francis's condition today. The Vatican announced the pontiff suffered 2 episodes of acute respiratory insufficiency and is not responding to oxygen therapy. His doctors believe this episode was part of his system's normal response in fighting the infection and said the Pope's prognosis remains guarded. And coming up, the biggest night in Hollywood. We take a look at the surprises and most memorable moments of last night's 97th Oscar Awards.
Boys.
Auntie?
Oh. This is how your father's business works. The life of crime and the life of this deli.
We're innocent. We'd be the first innocent brown people in jail. Oh my God.
There's a gun in the credenza. Finish him off now.
What?
What part of this are you not understanding?
Credenza, if I'm being honest, I don't think I know what that is.
GMA, Friday morning.
Here we go.
Ready for a little gaga?
Abracadabra.
Abracadabra. From her new music, everyone's waiting for.
You call it mayhem.
Yes.
What does this album tell us about the phase of life you're in right now?
To life with her fiance.
How's wedding planning going?
Oh my gosh. It's gaga as you've never seen before.
Provocative, strong, sensational.
Friday morning.
Well, I could die with a smile now because I'm hanging out with you.
Me too. Only on Good Morning America.
The news never stops. We are here in Israel, a nation at war.
Hurricane Helene screaming across the state, and that's why ABC News Live never stops.
Taking you to the center of the story as news breaks live.
ABC News Live is there for you all morning live. Right there. As events unfold across the day, breaking down the day's top stories. ABC News Live Prime going there wherever the story is.
And ABC News Live lighting up the weekend.
ABC News Live.
Because the news never stops.
Attention teachers, no child is to be sent to the principal's office today. Kids, if you want to do crime, now's the time. Happy first day of school.
Yes!
Weren't there like 4 more of these?
Yeah, we were robbed.
Hey, buy 3, get 1 free.
I'ma call your mother on you. Bring the rest back here, boy.
And finally tonight, the Oscars making history here on ABC. Here's World News Tonight anchor David Muir.
Somewhere over the rainbow, way up high.
A night of magic at the 97th Academy Awards.
Is a land that I've heard of once in a lullaby.
Wicked stars Ariana Grande and Cynthia Erivo opening the show in a tribute to the world of Oz. Their show-stopping duet of Defying Gravity.
With you and I defying gravity, they'll never bring us down.
But the night would soon belong to the indie film Anora,
Anora.
winning 5 Oscars, including Best Picture and Best Director,
Anora.
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 and stunning everyone
Mikey Madison.
when its 25-year-old star won Best Actress, Mikey Madison.
I grew up in Los Angeles, but Hollywood always felt so far away from me. So to be here, standing in this room today is really incredible.
Adrian Brody winning Best Actor for The Brutalist.
I believe if the past can teach us anything, it's a reminder to not let hate go unchecked.
Zoe Saldana
Mommy! Mommy!
winning Best Supporting Actress for Amelia Perez.
I am a proud child of immigrant parents with dreams and dignity and hardworking hands.
Kieran Culkin celebrating his Best Supporting Actor win for A Real Pain, bringing up a deal he made with his wife if he ever won an Oscar about the size of their family.
She turned to me, I swear to God this happened, it was just over a year ago. She said, I will give you 4 when you win an Oscar. Let's get cracking on those kids, what do you say?
Oscars host Conan O'Brien honoring the real-life heroes of Los Angeles.
On behalf of everyone in Greater Los Angeles, thank you for all that you do.
And Wicked making history with Paul Tazwell winning Best Costume Design.
I'm the first black man to receive the Costume Design Award.
A night of making history at the Oscars.
And that's our show for this hour. I'm Juju Chang. Stay tuned to ABC News Live for more context and analysis of the day's top stories. Thanks for streaming with us.
Attention teachers, no child is to be sent to the principal's office today. Kids, if you want to do crime, now's the time. Happy first day of school.